so much for the invitation and for this intro. I
Awesome.
think I should share my slides now, right?
Yeah. So do you want me to give up my control? Look at that.
Yes, please. And let's see if it's actually working. I hope it is. Can you see my slides now?
Yes.
It's coming through. Excellent. Thanks, Nikita. Thanks, everyone.
Perfect. Okay, so it's really great to meet all you virtually, unfortunately, and I do hope that lockdown treats you well. At least maybe it's not too bad. So I'm Nikita, and I'm a product manager. And what I'm going to talk about today is, well, data, right? And, you know, data is a bit of a buzzword nowadays. We all know that. We'll hear a lot of data every day. And we all know that we should use data to support our business decisions. And if we speak about product development, we should support our product decisions with data as well, right? At the same time, I've been working with, well, a lot of different product teams and different products and different companies, even countries. And moreover, I had an amazing opportunity to work on a specific solution to empower our product teams with data. So I interviewed a lot of product managers, designers, developers. And to my surprise, all those people, they knew a lot and they wanted to apply data, but they didn't always do it, or they didn't do that at every opportunity, right? So they still had a lot of issues with data. So the question I had is, why it's actually happening and how we can make data maybe a bit more accessible or just easy to use. And I have an idea, my personal opinion about that, which I'm going to share. We don't have much time, so it will be more like an inspirational talk. The idea could be a bit controversial, so please don't hesitate to share your feedback, and I'm really keen to hear from you. Maybe you tried something similar, maybe it didn't work or worked for you well. So, but before we speak about that, let's remember how we actually build product, right? So when they think about delivering something new in our product, we start with business goal. Let's say, I don't know, we have a product, it's been on the market for a few years, we grew up, and now we want to make the product a bit stickier. So we want to reduce churn, right? That's our business goal. We want people to stay with us longer. And when I think about this, how can we make it possible? We think about, hey, what are the problems our users have, which we maybe underserve at the moment? Which of those problems could make them appreciate our product a bit more and be with us longer? So we find some people to interview, like 5, maybe 10 people. We get their feedback, we analyze it, and we find a few opportunities, a few problems to solve. We choose the best one. The best one means having more impact on churn, and we decide to brainstorm solutions, right? So we think about all possible solutions to solve the problem, and we choose one which would be the most impactful and also easy to implement. And after that, we jump into implementation, and we try to understand if we actually solve the problem, right? If we reduce the churn, if so, amazing, we move forward. So the question is there a place for data here? How can we make our life easier or achieve more with data? Which step can data contribute the most? Well, I mean, I think the honest answer would be all of those steps, right? We can use data everywhere. And how come? So speaking about business goal, if you think about business goal, the business goal could be specific, right? So we can say, hey, that's the connection between my revenue and churn. That's the exact number of my churn today. That's what I'm aiming for. Maybe I will go even deeper and I say, hey, I don't care about the whole churn, but I know that I want to care about this specific user group, maybe this industry, maybe this scale, maybe this country, because those people, if I decrease churn by, I don't know, 0.5% there, my revenue will grow, right? Then I think about the problem. Well, here, data is an amazing tool. When you're looking for your participants, you might find your participants from specific subset of users, or you might target another goal. You want to have a representative subset of users, right? Data can tell you this. When you find a problem, you might think about, okay, now I want to confirm that this problem actually exists on scale. And if I look at data, I will prove that actually this is a real problem to solve. Solution, well, yes, if I have a track of churn changing through the years, I will know which helped me before, to impact churn, so I will be more confident in applying new solutions nowadays. And finally, validation. Well, validation is a sweet spot for data, right? Let's say I don't want to wait for another couple of months to see the impact on churn. I want to be confident that I'm actually changing something right now. So I will introduce leading indicators to predict the churn behavior, and I will get those results like within weeks instead of months. I can track the adoption of my solution, and I can also track something like user path through my new solution. So I should be confident that users actually use this feature or this product as I initially designed it, right? So all those amazing applications of data, and looks like we can use all of them, and we should use them all the time. But, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we don't always do it, right? Or at least we don't always do it for each of those steps and for each of our deliverables. So why is that? I think there are two potential reasons for this. The first is, well, data is hard. It could be really hard and complex. And the second could be that we actually don't care. I mean, we say we care, but we not always care. And this is not care problem. It's actually about having or not having a data-driven culture. So I don't go into that today. It's a big topic. We can just have another conversation about this. In a nutshell, I think that if you want a symptom of what does it mean to have a data-driven culture, for me, it's always about talking data. It means that if you see your executives, your product managers, your marketers really use data and talk data every time, they justify their decisions with data, they challenge each other with data, they bring data to any discussion or presentation, well, probably you have the right culture, so it's good enough. If you don't, well, you might act on that. So let's focus on what if we want data, but it's hard, and why it could be hard. So it's hard because it's huge, and it's hard because it's complicated, right? If you think about all those companies who build their business using data, who just performed amazing things there, like Airbnb, Uber, Lyft, Netflix, they have all those amazing articles or blogs speaking about all the solutions they developed internally. They build their own catalogs, they build their own pipelines, and they just created such a complicated data landscape. So we all try to do something similar, right? We all try to do data in the right way. And then I think about that, and we all think about that. We can imagine some kind of a checklist, with all those boxes to tick, right? I should have data governance and metadata management, otherwise it will be just messy, no one will use it. I should have right infrastructure to collect data, to store data. This infrastructure should be robust enough to serve me on scale, right, to solve all the needs. I should have all sorts of analytical tools because I will have a lot of users and they will have a lot of use cases. And at some point, I'll need to serve regular reports or metrics, so I should have some automation to commoditize data. And when we start building something like this, we end up having a huge data team, sometimes not so huge, but at least dedicated data team with some experts who could serve as a middleware between data and end users, providing them all those insights. We call those people business analysts, data analysts, right? I think we have a lot of those people nowadays in the companies. And we end up having some kind of a program managers, project managers who ensure that all those boxes will be ticked at the same time because it's so complex and you don't want to have, let's say, metadata catalog without actually any data. So it all should be delivered right at some point. And that's where complexity appears, right? That's why it's so hard. And that's why sometimes we can wait for months to serve quite a simple data request. So why is this actually happening? Why this problem is so huge and so complex to solve that sometimes we're solving this for months and years, and sometimes we don't solve it at all? It is actually the first time we face such a problem. And that's exactly the question I want to talk about today. So I believe that it actually shouldn't be so complex and it shouldn't be so huge. I think that we as an industry, we actually faced this issue many, many times before with all other big projects. And then we moved from building like so huge waterfall kind of ideal solutions to way smaller, maybe a bit dirty, maybe not perfect, but working right now and delivering value right here solutions, right? So my question is, why can't we use something similar and apply it to data? And actually, I see that happening. I see that happening in many companies right now. So what I'm suggesting is treat data landscape, data infrastructure as internal product and apply all the product principles which we usually apply to external products to this internal one. And that means, first of all, yes, having a team dedicated to that, a product team with designer, with product manager, that's quite important. But even more, I believe the main thing is allow imperfection, allow ourselves to build something simple, something maybe even primitive, allow all those trade-offs and focus on value first and less on building amazing, great solution with, all the tricks and perks, etc. So what does it actually mean? How to build such a data product? From my experience, I would suggest following three main principles here. The first one is build your product for the end user, not for data expert. If you think about any other external product, about most of them, right? Do you really imagine your customers hiring a very well-educated, very well-paid expert to help them using your product? For some products, that may be true, but for many of them, it's not true. For many of them, we build a product for user, and users should be able to use it right themselves. So I think that's a concept which we're missing with data. And yes, it's controversial. And here we'll have a lot of trade-offs, right? We'll sacrifice complexity, we'll sacrifice some functionality. But I do believe that after all, we don't need a lot of special people to get access to data. We need our users to be able to self-serve. And next, second point is ship value fast and often. It's not a new concept, but I think sometimes we confuse what value is. We think that if we build new data pipeline, if we build new analytical tool, that's value. Well, it's not, right? So the value is if I'm allowing people to analyze user behavior in their web application today and next week, I'm allowing them to add some analysis from, my support team reports. That's the value. And doesn't matter if you build it with a fancy, nice data pipeline, or you just did something like, dirty script somewhere in the cloud. It works, and that's the main thing. So ship fast, think about value, don't care that much about how beautiful it is. And the third thing is, well, then maybe that's the most controversial one. Unify and restrict. So make your product simple and neat, and don't allow all possible functionality in your product. Just because if it's complex, the entry barrier would be high. If it's complex, people will be afraid of it. They don't use it, right? So make it like very straightforward, and maybe like, if you can just have 2 buttons there instead of 50. And educate. So spend a lot of time on education. Instead of building reports for people, spend hours and hours, do like a lesson, like have an internal data university. So educate people on how they can use data, what data is, how beautiful it is. Not only this will help them to use your product, but the main thing here is that they will appreciate your product, they will appreciate data, and they will become data advocates, which, well, I think you want that, right? Finally, well, less is more. Keep the data simple and just try small steps. One more thing to mention here is, working with data a lot, I hear all the time that something like, we shouldn't actually allow people to use Excel, for example, because it's not a data tool. We should build way nicer, and use way nicer tools like Power BI, for example, right? And we shouldn't use something like simple, maybe available in the cloud, like free of charge. Instead of that, we should buy those big, huge solutions for data lakes. Honestly, I don't agree with that. I think that if your users know and appreciate Excel, and they have a lot of experience with this. Just serve this need. Maybe build something to easily populate data in Excel and let people use it to get value now, instead of exploring something else and making them use another tool which they will never end up using anyway. And you'll still have Excel, but just it will be unofficial. So yeah, that's it. That's my vision, and that's how I think we can treat data in our companies. Yeah, I'm really, really keen to hear what you think about this. Thank you.
Awesome.